Hey everybody, Ryan Medora here, and I've got another fun bass lesson for you. Today we're going to kind of go over the bass line, the super cool bass line, to the Fleetwood Mac tune, Go Your Own Way. Now this is a great song, it's very popular for like cover bands to play it, for people to jam on it and stuff like that, and it has like one of the coolest like melodic bass parts of any record. There, I said it. I think it's just a really great part. John McVie was a fantastic bass player, had this, background in blues from playing with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, and then, kind of was in the early days of Fleetwood Mac, where it was more of a blues band, and then kind of morphed into the kind of like pop, rock, adult contemporary iconic group that we know them to be today. But this bass line is this kind of like great combination of like a clever movement, playing by the diatonic rules, coming up with a great memorable theme, and very classic John McVie in that way. It's very much a hook. Now, if you want to get tab notation, things like that for this lesson, please head over to either my Patreon page or my TrueFire channel. I really can't tell you how awesome it is to have your support there, and you get additional goodies. You get things to go along with these lessons, little messages from me, tab, and stuff like that. It's a good time. Head over there. And you can also check out my website, ryanmedora.com, for other fun things. Yeah, so anyway, let's get started on this lesson. So Go Your Own Way is in the key of F. We can find our F here, find it down there on the first fret of our E string as well. And this song very much plays by the rules, like we're kind of sticking to what we call like our diatonic harmony, meaning if we say that we have a particular key center, like F, we could play an F major scale, and those are really the notes that we're going to be sticking with as we compose the part. And the chords in the song are going to adhere to the chords built off of each note in the scale. So, for instance, we would have a 1 chord built on our major, building a major chord on our 1. Our 4 chord would be a B flat, 1, 2, 3, 4, that would be major as well. Our 5 chord would be major, built off of a C. If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we could play a D open, or here at our 5th fret, and that would be the 6th scale degree, and we would build a minor chord there. So these are kind of like relating to the rules of music, basically. If you're not familiar with those, I would kind of take a second and do a little bit of theory digging. But in the meantime, I'm going to kind of like go through this song and hopefully have it make some sense to all of us. So for the verses of the song, things are pretty simple. It's a little challenging to hear the bass on the recording because it's almost doing this kind of like pedally drone thing, just kind of playing root notes. So playing our F chord, playing the octave of it sometimes, playing the root note of C, going down to our B flat, our 4 chord, back to C, back to F. It's kind of doing that, but the really interesting part of the bass line is when we get to the chorus. So as you know, we're kind of like pedaling through the verses. We're kind of doing this kind of motion. We can kind of go back and forth between the root and the octave there, but as we get to the chorus, we have this really, really cool line. It's just awesome. Yeah. So let's figure out why we play that, why John McVie came up with something so cool. And the answer to that is related to the chords that we're using and the notes in our F major scale. So the chord progression here, we're going to be going from a D minor chord. You can go your own way. You can kind of hear me do a very poor job singing along to it. But we go from a D minor chord to a B flat major chord to a C major chord, or the 6th chord in our key, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. So if we were to just pedal our root notes here, we could kind of hear the chorus over this. And that's all well and good. We could have just done that. John McVie could have just kept things easy, simple, plain as could be, pedaling a root note. Sometimes that's the right choice. Other times the right choice is to come up with something even more awesome, which he does. So the line that he constructs begins with this phrase. We start here on the D, and then we go F, E, D, C, B flat. And the great thing about that is we are kind of beginning on our root note of our D minor chord, playing the third of the chord, and then playing the scale down. So again, we have our root note of the D minor chord. The third of that chord, minor third, would be an F, or the tonic of our key. And then we're just going to play down the scale and land on our B flat, which is the root note of the next chord in this chorus progression. It's perfect. Great line, nice little melody. Then the next part does this cool little line. So again, we're taking advantage of the notes of our F major scale, and this time we're starting it on the second scale degree, just a little higher up. So we're actually starting it on the G, and we're just playing this sucker down the scale. We're going G, which is our second scale degree, F, the original root, the seventh scale degree E, the sixth scale degree D, and then we're landing on the C, which is the root note of our 5 chord. That's the chord that we're landing on. So again, brilliant way of kind of playing through the chord changes instead of just kind of pedaling root notes. We have this nice little melodic line to go from our D minor chord down to the B minor chord. And then we have another nice melodic line that leads us to our C chord, the 5 chord. You know? So we're just kind of constructing this beautiful little melody here. And then as we're hanging out there, we have another part, like a third part. So we've got we kind of end with that little phrase to kind of come back to the original low D over here that we need to get to. And when we construct that part, again, we're thinking about playing off of our 5 chord, the C. We're going to jump up to this note, which is an A. It's the third of our F major scale. You know, here's our F, 1, 2, 3, third of our scale. And we're going to do that same concept where we play a higher note and we descend all of the notes in the scale. We have A, G, F, E, and then we land on that D. So remember, we've played this chord. We are going to a D chord, and the way we get there is by jumping up, playing a little melody down. So as we construct this bass part, everything that happens is kind of like we know our root note of the chord, we jump up and play a melodic theme that descends to our next root note of the next chord. So again, here we have our D with our line, we land on our B flat, here's our line, land on our C, there's our line. So the even cooler thing, as if this isn't cool enough, is that every time we kind of jump up to the next scale degree to create our descending melodic phrase. So as we're here, the first part of the descending phrase begins on the F. The next line descends from the G. And then the final one descends from the A. So the movement is kind of like you start here, then you start here, one step higher, and then you start here, another step higher. It's just amazing. It's like magic. I don't know how you come up with this stuff, but you do, or at least John McVie does. So if you're going to go and you're going to play the whole thing nice and slow, repeat. So again, you can kind of see how he constructs the perfect line to play, and through this song, through the end of it, it gets a little bit more creative, throws some other variations in here and there, but that is primarily the bass part that you're going to be playing. So if you find yourself playing Go Your Own Way, or at least taking a moment to study that bass line, there's a lot you can learn from it in terms of creating melodic themes that just sound really great and are worthy of learning and putting on your instrument. So I hope you dug this lesson. Again, if you want to get tab notation, anything like that, please head over to either my Patreon page or my TrueFire channel. You can get everything there. And happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.